Yo, what up, dogs? Welcome to my second ever movie review, and this one is going to be dedicated to Skinamarink. Now, the film is listed as a 2022 film, but that is due to its release in the film festival circuit in North America. And that there is where it garnered some buzz, and I believe it got leaked on the internet, and Twitter got a hold of it, and everyone was hyping this film up, and that's how it eventually got its theatrical release. So in January 2023, it hit theaters, and I was able to go and see it at my local art house theater, and that was a fun experience, which we're going to talk about in more after I go through the rundown here. The film does not have a rating on IMDb at all, so I would assume it's an R-rated film or maybe the next tier down for horror movies. I don't know what that is because I don't watch a lot of horror movies. But whatever the next one down is, because it's not a slasher film, it's a very artistic, expressional, experimental film. So I don't really know. Maybe that's why they never put a rating to it. So the movie does run for an hour and 40 minutes. And trust me, you are going to be tempted to maybe look at your watch and go, am I still here? Like, how much is to go? I think this movie, because of that runtime, it takes you out of the immersion of the film because you're thinking, when is this ending? Because it's a lot of the same. Sometimes my own mind drifted away going, I started daydreaming about stuff and thinking about other things when I'm watching this film. Like, my mind's really active and abundant. So like when I'm looking at what could be in the darkness, my mind is also like thinking about other things, because once my brain starts thinking of other things and you got me triggering, I'm like, man, I got to get outside and start writing something down because I have a very active imagination. And when you're sitting in this kind of scenario that they're brewing for you and allowing your imagination to peer into the darkness of things, you're either going to be submerged into it or your brain's going to check out and be like, hey, let's go draw something. As I said, this movie is a horror movie, and it is written and directed by Kyle Edward Ball. He is a Canadian. He's from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which means this is a Canucksploitation film. I didn't even know he was Canadian until I read up on him. I was like, oh my God, he's a Canadian. And then I saw a lot of other reviewers not really saying anything that this is a Canadian film. And I kind of thought to myself, like, why? Why is no one mentioning that this is a Canadian film? It's a Canadian film, guys. I would like you to know that. And the logline written on IMDb is, two children wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing, and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished. Nightmare scenario for children. And as for the cast, the mom is played by Jamie Hill, the dad is played by Ross Paul, child named Kevin is played by Lucas Paul, and the other child, Kaylee, is played by Dali Rose Tetrault. I think it's French, and I'm horrible at last names, so I'm sorry if I mispronounce that name. Here's a couple interesting details about this film. Number one, the film was made for $15,000, and it shows, okay? Straight up. And that's not a diss. This is actually, to me, it's quite a feat to be able to make a feature-length film for that much money and get it into the film festivals and then get it into actual distribution into major theaters. That is amazing, and like a record. It has to be like a record. Maybe it's a Canadian record. Like, that's huge in my book. So the second cool thing is, it's filmed in his childhood home. His parents still live there, so he was able to just kind of bring back those nightmares and those memories from his own life into this film in his own home, right? So that's super cool. And the other cool thing is, a lot of the toys in this film are his own childhood toys that his mom kept in a toy box, and he got to upcycle them and put them in this film, which is absolutely amazing to me. So kudos to Kyle, because the budget's on the screen, and he used everything around him to make this film happen. And it's just cool to see, you know, and it motivates me as a Canadian future filmmaker. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. So when I see something like this, I'm just like, thanks, man. You did it. I know I can do it. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing the Canadian Canucksploitation films forward. And again, in the spirit of Canucksploitation films and just Canadians making stuff, if you guys don't know this by now, Canadians make weird films. That's what we do. That is our bread and butter. We make weird stuff. And this is in that category of Canadian weird stuff. Now, I went and saw this movie in the theater, my art house theater. So we had an art house crowd, right? A little different. And it was fun, man. I had a blast watching this movie. This film was so much fun with this crowd, because when you're sitting there in the silence, like silence, but it's like cartoony music playing in the background and stuff like that, setting this eeriness while you're focused in on black, right? And the audience, like, started to chuckle, like laugh at the film, but also laugh at the experience and laugh at themselves, because they're kind of uneasy of what's going on around them. And it was just a cool experience seeing that, like, brew in a sense, because like there was a little pocket of a little chatter over here, a little laughter over here, a little laughter over there. I actually had someone in front of me, and that like an adult couple, like a little bit older, like 60s, we'll say, just got up and left. They didn't even come back. Like they were done. That was probably, I would say, the halfway mark. They were done. They never came back. And then I saw like another dude. He got up, left for like 20 minutes, came back. So maybe he had a phone call or something like that. There was a lot of interesting elements to this film of like staring into the darkness, like I said, and like my mind likes to wander sometimes. So my brain really was thinking a lot about like what is this film trying to tell me here while I'm going on this adventure. And like, sure, you could have cut this movie down like maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, if you wanted to, because there were moments where my audience, like I said, they were just laughing. There was someone fell asleep. I will note that someone that was funny because he caught himself snoring, like he did the snore, the, you know what I'm saying? And then like everyone's like, what? Sorry. Oh man, it was funny. It was just funny, man. And like the jump scares were hilarious because the audience and including myself, we all jumped. Like whoa, you know, but then we laughed at each other for jumping at the jump scare because we were like, look at us, we're all dorks in here. And it was just a fun experience. Honestly, the movie was a fun experience, even if my own mind got wandering thinking about what the subject matter here is, and we were having good time with the audience and stuff like that. Like it was a fun experience in my crowd specifically. Now I could understand if you saw it with somebody else and you got bored of this film. I get it. This movie is not for everyone. This is definitely an experimental horror film, and you're going to be sitting there thinking a lot about what this movie means, what it means to you, and what you see in the dark, because the movie is designed to let your brain be like a psychological trip, and you're listening into the music and the voiceovers and experiencing this world that these kids are living in, and the darkness. It's tons of darkness, lots of lights flickering on, flickering off, image of this, image of that. So you're kind of also thinking about maybe almost regressed memories of your own childhood of like, oh man, that is creepy because I remember that when I was a kid. This movie made me sit there and think a lot about my own past. And maybe that does the same thing for everybody else. I don't know. I don't know what anyone else's experience has been with this film. So if you have had some cool experiences with this film or thoughts and what you think this film is, drop a comment below. I would love to read it. Now, here's two questions, right? Should you go see it? Yeah. I say, yeah, go see it. Why not? It's something different. Go see it on a cheap night. It's something different. Like sometimes you got to go out there and see different stuff, you know? And this is just a different film. It's very experimental, like I said. This isn't something you're going to see regularly in the movie theater. So I think, yeah, go see it. And if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with a little experimentation, especially with film and going to enjoy an experimental film. So I recommend you go and see it at least once. Now, here's the other thing. The other question is, Brett, would you buy this for the collection? And I think you guys should obviously know this, especially if you watch my collection videos. It's a yes, because this is a Connexploitation film, and I have a Connexploitation film collection brewing behind me. And I will definitely buy this. This is a day one buy for me, and I'll honestly probably never watch it again. But I would like to have it in the archive, just as like this is a piece of Canadiana, and someone made this from Canada, and it did good things, and it's an important piece of Canadian film. So I would buy it for that purpose. And you know what? I might watch it again, actually, because if I have a friend over who's like, hey, I've heard about this, but I never got to see it in the theater, boom, guess what? I got it. Let's watch it. And then we can talk about it afterwards, because this is a film that definitely will get you talking about what the hell you just watched and what you just experienced. So in the end, I would definitely recommend it as a one and done type of watch, and you're going to enjoy the experience or you're not, and you're going to talk about it and be like, what the heck did I just watch? And that is the fun of this film. Other than that, that is the end of my review. I hope I did a good job. And if you didn't like that review, please tell me, because like I'm always looking to improve my movie reviewing. Thank you, as always. It means a lot just for you to even view it for a couple minutes, and stay tuned for the next review, and have a good week, and just, man, enjoy the movies, man. Enjoy the movies.